So I welcome you here in this online series of English lectures today. And even again, I request you to take care of yourself. Do not come out from the home. Stay safe. And now it is the time to, of course, come back to the history of novels. And now let us just get the recollection of thoughts we have just thought last time. First of all, in the beginning, we went to know what the literature is. Later, we have thought about the history of novel. Later on, last time on Saturday, we tried to discuss the elements of novel, and we just started with the types of novels, which we are going to repeat today. So, of course, when we think of novels, as we have talked about too much about what novel is, now it is the time to go to the types of novels so that we can understand the word novel in great sense. So the first novel, that is, of course, the realistic novel. The realistic novel is a novel which gives a strong emphasis on the truthful presentation of actual in fiction. Friends, have you understood what I said? I simply said that a realistic novel is a novel which gives strong emphasis on the truthful presentation of actual in fiction. That's very important. There is a truthful presentation of all the real events, but it is, of course, narrated in fiction, and that's why, of course, there comes the effect of realism. There comes the effect of realism, or the realistic representation of the actual events, which comes in fiction, which comes in novel. This type of novel is even called as what we can say the novel of manner. The realistic novel even can be called, yes, the novel of manner. Most of the times the complex types of characters are shown, which come with some mixed motives of their lives. If it is the reality or the realistic representation of events, of course, there comes the complex characters. They come with their complex natures, they come with their complex thoughts, and of course, they try their best to show the truthful and everyday experiences of their life. I think this word is very important to know, the realistic novel, in which we come to know the characters, complex characters especially, and they come with the everyday experiences of their life. The best example may be called as one of the best examples of realistic novel is written by J. Asher. The title of the novel is 13 Reasons Why. The title is 13 Reasons Why, written by J. Asher, and one more, which is written by John Green, and the title of the novel is Looking for Alaska. So that is all about what realistic novel is, where we find the truth. Second one is Picaresque novel. Picaresque novel is a novel especially which is about a rug. The word picaro means rug. The word picaro is a Spanish word which means a rug. A rug is a scoundrel. Rug is a deceitful person, one who is unreliable, one who is a low character, disreputable, unusual character. Yes, very strange one. Of course, the rug is a very strange one, strange character, one who is deceitful, one who is unreliable or a scoundrel. And here, such kind of person plays the role of protagonist. Such kind of person is given the role of protagonist, and about his life, about his low adventures, the novel talks about. That is called Picaresque novel, and the best example comes in the form of Don Quixote, written by Cervantes. very famous example that can be called the masterpiece of Picasso novel. Second comes The History of Tom Jones, written by Henry Fielding, and one more comes that is Kim by Rudyard Kipling. These are the three best examples of this type of novel in which a scoundrel is represented. Here, the unreliable or low or disreputable person is always described. And so, of course, there is no plot in such kinds of stories, in such kinds of novels. We do not find plots. We do not find simple stories. And even most of the time, this type of novel is written in first-person narration. Then there comes the next one, very famous, and that is historical novel. The title itself talks about everything. Title is the historical novel, and of course, it is all about history. Such kinds of novel talk about history. They depict history, historical events, and characters. All we have read till now, all about what we can say, King Shivaji and King Sambhaji. Whatever we know either from the novel or from the movies. So those historical characters, those historical events are depicted in such kinds of historical novel. One best example, written by Leo Tolstoy, and the title is War and Peace. Very famous example, very famous historical novel, War and Peace, written by Leo Tolstoy. Second is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. And the third one is, again, very famous, Vanity Fair. It is Vanity Fair, written by William Thackeray. So this is all about historical novel, and this historical novel, of course, talks about history. The next is, fourth one is epistolary novel. The word epistola is the Latin word. Epistola is the Latin word, and it simply means the letter. Epistola is a letter. And of course, the title again, this meaning, this symbolical meaning, talks and tells us that this novel is all about letters. This novel is written in the form of letter. The narration is, of course, through the series of letters. The events are narrated through the series of letters or documents, and sometimes we even can find the diary entries. Many people have the habit of writing diaries, and their diary entries are later described or narrated in the form of epistolary novel. So this is also one of the major types of literature which has its own importance in history of novel, and so that's why the word epistolary novel. Of course, it is all about letter and the series of letters. The next one is Gothic novel. The word Gothic novel. Gothic simply means terror, mystery, horror, thriller, doom, decay, death, haunted buildings, supernatural elements, ghost. Yes, friends, have you come to know what is the novel about? What is this Gothic novel about? This Gothic novel is all about ghosts, supernatural elements, death, decay, doom. Yes, mystery, terror, horror, thriller, and all. The best example, of course, we have seen in Marathi. Marathi film, it may be Pachadlela 2, in which Lakshmikant Berde has played the major role, in which we have seen that building. That building structure is the structure of Gothic structure. Mostly in Roman Empire, we have found these Gothic structures, Gothic buildings, through which we came to know all such kinds of supernatural elements and ghosts. One best examples, one masterpiece of in history of English literature, the masterpiece comes in the form of Wuthering Heights, written by Emily Bronte. Yes, the best example of Gothic novel, friends, is Wuthering Heights, written by Emily Bronte. Second example comes in the name Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley. The next one is The Castle of Otranto, written by Horace Walpole. One more example is The Italian, written by Anne Radcliffe. So this is all about Gothic novel. Gothic novel is all about, as I said, it is about ghost and supernatural elements. Friends, the next one is, of course, the autobiographical novel. This is autobiographical novel, and the title itself tells that it is all about biographies and autobiographies. Yes, the life of the author is described. Friends, the life of the author, the real life of the author is described by the same author, and that's why it becomes the autobiographical novel. Of course, that author can change his own real name, real places. He changes the names and places, his own names and the places where he lived. He takes the imaginary names sometimes, and he describes his own experiences. He has that right to experience all about his own life. Of course, in this he can avoid the certain details of his life. It is his right to avoid such kinds of details. And of course, this kind of novel is seen in the form of narration or in the form of descriptions. The best example comes, you will understand, it is written by Charles Dickens. The novel is written by Charles Dickens, and the name of the novel is David Copperfield. See the combination. It is written by Charles Dickens. The novel is written by Charles Dickens, and the title of the novel is David Copperfield. He had changed his name. His name was Charles. He took the name David. His surname was, yes, Dickens. He took, yes, Copperfield. CD, such kind of combination which he had taken deliberately to describe his autobiography. There comes many examples. One best example in India we have written by Mahatma Gandhi, and his famous autobiography, and that is in the name My Experiments with Truth. The title is My Experiments with Truth, written by Mahatma Gandhi. One comes from the very famous person from cricket. Of course, he is Kapil Dev, and he has written Straight from the Heart. His novel, his autobiography is Straight from the Heart. One comes from D.H. Lawrence, very great novelist in English literature. He has written Sons and Lovers. One very famous person, another person, Mary Kom, she has written Unbreakable, her own autobiography. And one more, everybody knows, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who came with his autobiography in the name Wings of Fire. So that is all about author's life. Autobiographical novel, of course, describes the author's life. And so these were the examples. There comes the next type of example. Of course, that is the seventh one. Allegorical novel. Yes, this is allegorical novel. Allegory has two different meanings. One is surface level meaning of the story, and the second is symbolic meaning of the story. The story has two levels of meanings. One is, as I said, surface level meaning, and the second is, yes, symbolic meaning. The symbolic meaning can be political, of course. It can be religious, it can be historical or philosophical. But the main part of allegorical novel is that the story, most of the times the story is written with the animal characters. The animal characters play different roles like human beings, and they give us a message from their life, from their experiences, from their events, from the series of events, by which the animals are shown, but they come with some real messages. So, of course, such kind of allegorical novels, most of the times we have read many stories. Most of the times in childhood we read the animal stories, Yes, animal or fairy stories, in which we always liked animal stories, in which animals played different roles, and at last, when the story ends, we came with the message. We got the message. They just passed a message to us. You take the example of rabbit and tortoise. Rabbit and tortoise, where the animals have played the roles, different roles, but the message was different. So at surface level, it tells something else, and at deep level, at symbolical level, it tells something else. And that's why it is said that yes, the allegorical novel comes with political, religious, historical, or philosophical messages. And so, one best masterpiece of such allegorical novel is written by George Orwell. And the title of the novel is Animal Farm. Let me tell you in short what has happened in Animal. In Animal Farm, there were different animals, and once the group of animals decided to rebel against their human master, and they took the actions, and the whole story goes on. And of course, that story symbolizes the struggle between Russia and Soviet Union. It was all about Russian Revolution. Yes, the story was all about Russian Revolution, but the story was told in the form of animals, and that's why it is called allegorical novel. The next comes Pilgrim's Progress, written by John Bunyan. There comes one more written by William Golding, and the title of the novel is The Lord of the Flies. So these are the best examples of allegorical novel. Next comes, there is utopian novel. Next is utopian novel, and utopia, of course, is a community or society. The word utopia is a community or a society, and the dictionary meaning of the word utopia, the dictionary meaning of utopia is imaginary, something which is very idealistic, imaginary but idealistic. So utopia is a community or society. They possess highly desirable, perfect qualities. This community or society possess highly desirable and perfect qualities. They are ideal examples of idealism. Yes, they are ideals. And so such kind of ideal themes are written in the form of novel, and so such kinds of novels have become utopian novel. So in which, of course, this becomes the common theme for science fiction, because science fiction needs perfectionism, science fiction needs idealism, and so such kind of idealistic thoughts, idealistic notions, idealistic philosophies are explained here in such kinds of utopian novels, and that's why it is called as utopian or dystopian novel. The best example, written by Thomas More, is the same name, Utopia. The title of the novel is Utopia, written by Thomas More. The next best example is Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. The next best example is Gulliver's Travels, written by Jonathan Swift. And one more example is Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. So this is all about utopian novel. The next is very famous, psychological novel. The title itself tells that it is all about psychology. It is all about internal life. It is all about the mentality. The psychological novel treats the internal life of the protagonist. It treats the internal life of the protagonist mentality or his deep thoughts. And of course, there comes the internal conflict. Most of the times we have found in other kinds of novels, in movies, we have seen that there is a conflict between the internal and external. The conflict is between one person with the another person. There is a conflict between one community with the another community. There is a conflict between one religion with another religion. In psychological novel, there is a conflict it is not between, it is the conflict within oneself. It is the conflict, it is the internal conflict. And that's why such kind of novel is called psychological novel, which treats the internal life of the protagonist. And the best example, as I have referred some time before, the famous name in English literature, that is D.H. Lawrence, who comes with Sons and Lovers. The title is Sons and Lovers, the best example of psychological novel. Yes, written by D.H. Lawrence. The next example is written by Virginia Woolf. The title is To the Lighthouse. And of course, there comes one more example that can be called the world's first novel, written in 1010 by Lady Murasaki, and the title of the novel is The Tale of Genji. The Tale of Genji is considered to be the first world's novel written by Lady Murasaki in 1010. And of course, one important thing is that this world's first novel is considered the first psychological novel again. So that is all about psychological novel. The next one is stream of consciousness novel. Stream of consciousness novel. This term is again related with psychology or psychological novel. These are basically same, but see what is the term stream of consciousness is coined by, for the first time, it is coined by William James in his treatise, in his article, Principles of Psychology in 1890. It was the first person who has tried to find out the concept stream of consciousness in 1890. His name is William James, and of course he used this term. He used this concept in his article named Principles of Psychology. And of course, it doesn't mean anything else. It is all about flow of thoughts. It is all about flow of thoughts. Stream of consciousness novel is a novel which is all about flow of thoughts. And where there is a flow of thoughts, of course, when we only think about internal mind, when we think about mentality, when we think about this, the internal conflict of protagonist. And of course, this is related with, yes, psychological novel again. So there comes one best example, Ulysses. The title of the novel is Ulysses, written by James Joyce. And one more example we have found, and that is Mrs. Dalloway, written by Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is one very dominant female novelist. She tried to write all about stream of consciousness novels and psychological novels. She is famous for all her writings. The next one is Bildungsroman novel. Bildungsroman novel. Bildungsroman is nothing but, yes, it is all about growth. It is all about development. Yes, this is the German word. Bildungsroman is the German word which indicates growth, which indicates development. So the growth of the protagonist from childhood to the adulthood, the growth of the important major character, central character, from his childhood to the adulthood is shown. The growth of the person is shown in the novel, which is called as Bildungsroman novel. And of course, yes, the growth of the protagonist's mind, spirit, character from childhood to, yes, adulthood. That is how it is shown all about. One name is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. The next name is Thomas Mann, The Magic Mountain. And one more name again, which I have referred some time before, written by, Charles Dickens, David Copperfield, of course, in which the growth of the person was shown. David Copperfield, written by Charles Dickens. So the growth was shown in that novel even. The next one comes science fiction. The title indicates that it is all about science. It is a speculative fiction. means it is all about curiosity. Speculative means curiosity, which increases the curiosity of the person. So this is called science fiction. What is it all about, friends? It is all about futuristic setting, futuristic science, futuristic technology. It means, yes, it talks about future only. And so, yes, it even talks about space travel, time travel, extraterrestrial life. So whenever there comes the science and technology, yes, such kind of writing comes in science fiction. One best example, of course, which I have referred when we were talking about history of literature, the characteristics of literature in which I have referred, one Indian name is Amitav Ghosh. He has written the novel Calcutta Chromosome. The Calcutta Chromosome is all about science. The Calcutta Chromosome is all about science fiction. There comes some other names. There is one first science fiction written in 1823. It is written by Mary Shelley. The title of the novel is Frankenstein. This is the first science novel written in 1823, written by, yes, Mary Shelley, and the title is Frankenstein. There comes one more example, H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells, he wrote The War of the World. He wrote The War of the World. So, of course, friends, science fiction is all about curiosity, which comes with all kinds of information, futuristic information, of course. The last one for today's discussion, that is all about detective fiction. You might know much about detective fiction, and the word detective simply tells that it is all about crime and punishment. It is all about crime and mystery. It is all about death. Yes, so it is a crime fiction. It is even called as mystery fiction, where there is the detective. He is, of course, the protagonist. This protagonist, detective, investigates a crime. The crime is often in the form of murder, yes, and the detective has the responsibility to find out the murderer. So that is how it is called as detective fiction. And so there comes one masterpiece named The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. This is one best example of detective fiction. There are many which you know more, but these are the literary masterpieces. So The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, and one more is Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. So these are all about. Friends, see, this is all about the types of novels. We have seen all these in detail with all different examples. So, friends, if you remember, last time I promised you that it is for your better understanding. We'll try to discuss these things in Marathi. Of course, this comes the need for other faculties, and so let me tell you all this in short in Marathi, again for your better understanding. So, friends, पहा आपण साहित्य वाङ्मयाचा हा काही गेले 2-3 दिवस अभ्यास करतो आहोत. वाङ्मय आणि वाङ्मयाचा इतिहास, आणि त्यात मुख्यत्वे वाङ्मयामधल्या मुख्य प्रकारांमधल्या कविता सोडून मागच्या वर्षी नाटक हा प्रकार आपण पाहिला, यावर्षी आपण कादंबरी हा प्रकार मुख्यत्वे पाहतो आहोत. आणि या कादंबरी प्रकारामध्ये अर्थात आपण सुरुवातीच्या लेक्चरला लिटरेचर काय आपण हे थोडंसं पाहिलं होतं. लिटरेचर म्हणजे साहित्य वाङ्मय आणि त्याच्या काही क्वालिटीज पाहिल्या होत्या. सगळ्यात महत्वाची गोष्ट आपल्याला साहित्यातून मिळते किंवा मिळवावी लागते किंवा ती आपल्याला साहित्य देत असतं, ती म्हणजे 3 महत्वाची त्याची कार्य. पहिलं कार्य त्याचं एंटरटेनमेंट म्हणजे मनोरंजन करणं. जो कोणी वाचणारा आहे, जो कोणी ते पाहणारा आहे, जो कोणी ते अनुभव घेणारा आहे, त्याला त्याचं मनोरंजन करणं हा वाङ्मयाचा पहिलं प्रमुख कर्तव्य किंवा काम ठरतं, फंक्शन ठरतं. आणि म्हणून मनोरंजन म्हणजे एंटरटेनमेंट त्याच्यातून झाली पाहिजे. दुसरी गोष्ट ती म्हणजे सगळ्यात महत्वाची वाङ्मयाच्या बाबतीत बोलायची म्हटली तर त्यातून प्लेजर मिळाला पाहिजे, म्हणजे आनंद मिळाला पाहिजे. नुसतं मनोरंजन होऊन चालणार नाही, आणि म्हणून त्याच्यातून आनंद सुद्धा मिळाला पाहिजे. आणि अर्थात मिळवताना माणसाच्या आयुष्यात काही बदल घडले पाहिजेत, माणसाच्या आयुष्यात काही पॉझिटिव्ह बदल घडले पाहिजेत, माणसाचं आयुष्य, मानवाचं आयुष्य काही प्रकारे समृद्ध करता येण्यासाठी काही प्रयत्न करता येतात का, हे साहित्य याच्यावर विचार. मनोरंजन, दुसरं आनंद, आणि तिसरं महत्वाचं कार्य ते म्हणजे इन्फॉर्मेशन, म्हणजे माहिती. या 3 प्रकारावर मुख्यत्वे वाङ्मयाचं काम चालतं. ते म्हणजे जो कोणी ही पुस्तकं वाचणार आहे किंवा वेगवेगळ्या प्रकाराने ती पाहणार आहे, त्यामधून त्याचं मनोरंजन झालं पाहिजे, त्याच्यातून त्याला आनंद मिळाला पाहिजे, आणि त्याच्यातून त्याला माहिती सुद्धा मिळाली पाहिजे. या प्रकारे महत्वाची गोष्ट आपल्याला कळते. आणि म्हणूनच आपण सुरुवातीला म्हटलं होतं, एक्सप्रेशन इज बेटर दॅन सपरेशन. वाङ्मयाचा सगळ्यात महत्वाचा हाच भाग आहे. माणूस स्वतःला व्यक्त करतो, आणि व्यक्त केला की मग तो खऱ्या अर्थाने मोकळा होतो. ते जे मोकळं होणं आहे, ते मोकळं होणं म्हणजे साहित्यातले पुढचे 3 प्रकार. मग ती कविता असेल, नाटक असेल, कादंबरी असेल. कवितेचा प्रकार आपल्याला सिलेबसमध्ये नाहीये. मागच्या वर्षी आपण नाटक हा प्रकार खूप डिटेलमध्ये पाहिलाय, आणि म्हणून आपण नाटक ह्या प्रकाराकडे न जाता कादंबरी ह्या प्रकाराकडे जाऊयात. कादंबरी हा प्रकार खरं तर 18व्या शतकात मिळालेलं माणसाला एक खूप मोठं वरदान म्हटलं गेलं. याचं कारणही तसंच होतं. 18व्या शतकामध्ये खरं तर इंडस्ट्रियल रिव्हॉल्युशन होत होतं, मशीनचा उदय होत होता, माणसाच्या जागी मशीन काम करत होती, माणसाला वेळ मिळत होता, त्याला मोकळा वेळ मिळत होता, आणि त्या मोकळ्या वेळात काय करावं. 16व्या शतकापर्यंत आपण पाहिलं, 17व्या शतकापर्यंत पाहिलं, नाटक ह्या प्रकाराने उच्चभ्रू लोकांना खूप चांगलं मनोरंजन करता आलं. पण सामान्य माणसाला, 18व्या शतकातल्या सामान्य वर्गाला, जो सामान्य वर्ग इंडस्ट्रियल रिव्हॉल्युशन मधून तयार झालेला होता, त्या सामान्य वर्गाला स्वतःचा मोकळा वेळ घालवण्यासाठी काहीतरी एक चांगलं साधन पाहिजे होतं, आणि ते साधन त्यांना मिळालं, ते म्हणजे कादंबरी स्वरूप. आणि मग जेव्हा ते त्यांना मिळालं, तेव्हा कादंबरी अर्थात खूप लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचली, आणि मग वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारच्या कादंबऱ्या आपल्याला पाहायला मिळाल्या. आपण त्याचबरोबर इंडियन सिनारिओ मध्ये पाहिलं होतं की इंडियन सिनारिओ, जे इंडियन भारतामध्ये कादंबरीचा उदय झाला, त्याचा विकास कसा झाला, आणि कोण कोण लेखक महत्वाचे त्याच्यामध्ये आले, त्याची खूप सारी यादी आपण पाहिली होती. ती एकदा परत ऐकली किंवा आपण पाहिली किंवा पुस्तकातून वाचली की तुम्हाला ती लक्षात येणार आहे. त्यानंतर आपण नंतरच्या लेक्चरला आपण पाहिले होते काही इलेमेंट्स ऑफ नॉव्हेल, म्हणजे त्याचे काही वैशिष्ट्य. मुख्य वैशिष्ट्य होतं किंवा मुख्य इलेमेंट त्याच्यातला प्रकार होता तो म्हणजे थीम. थीम म्हणजे सेंट्रल आयडिया. थीम म्हणजे असं काही आशय की जो काही कमी शब्दात व्यक्त करता येतो. म्हणजे एखादी मूव्ही पाहून आल्यानंतर जर बाहेर आपल्याला कोणी भेटलं आणि जर त्याने आपल्याला विचारलं की काय पाहिलं, कसा होता पिक्चर, आपण जे 1-2 वाक्यांमध्ये त्याला जे सांगतो ना, ती आहे थीम, ती आहे सेंट्रल आयडिया. आणि म्हणून ते एक फिलॉसॉफिकल स्टेटमेंट सुद्धा ठरतं. पुढचा प्रकार आहे, पुढचा एलिमेंट आहे तो म्हणजे प्लॉट. आणि प्लॉट म्हणजे स्टोरी. पूर्ण स्टोरी आपण जी काही पाहतो, ज्याच्यामध्ये आपल्याला एक प्रकारचं इंटरनल आणि एक्सटर्नल असं कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पाहायला मिळतं, स्ट्रगल, संघर्ष पाहायला मिळतो. आणि तो संघर्ष सिंपल किंवा कॉम्प्लेक्स प्लॉट मध्ये पाहायला मिळतो. प्लॉटचे 2 प्रकार आहेत, सिंपल आणि कॉम्प्लेक्स. एक साधा असतो ज्याच्यामध्ये एकच स्टोरी असते, आणि दुसरा असतो कॉम्प्लेक्स, ज्याच्यामध्ये एकपेक्षा जास्त सब स्टोरीज असण्याची शक्यता असते. तिसरा प्रकार आहे कॅरेक्टर्स, म्हणजे पात्र. त्या नाटकामध्ये, त्या कादंबरी प्रकारामध्ये किती लोकांनी काम केलंय, किती लोक त्याच्यामध्ये काम करतात, किती लोक त्याच्यामध्ये वेगवेगळी पात्र म्हणून आली, ती पात्र कशी आहेत. मग कोणी मेजर असेल, कोणी मायनर असेल, कोणी मुख्य असेल, कोणी कमी महत्वाचा असेल, कोणी सेंट्रल कॅरेक्टर असेल, म्हणजे कोणी महत्वाचा हिरो असेल, कोणी हिरोईन असेल, कोणी विलन असेल, येस, कोणी प्रोटॅगॉनिस्ट असेल, कोणी अँटॅगॉनिस्ट असेल. काही कॅरेक्टर स्वतःला बदलत राहतात, विचार बदलत राहतात, त्यांना आपण राऊंड कॅरेक्टर्स म्हणतो. जे अजिबात त्यांचे विचार बदलतच नाहीत, ते ठाम असतात त्यांच्या त्या ठरलेल्या गोष्टीवर, त्यांना आपण फ्लॅट कॅरेक्टर म्हणतो. एखाद्या पिक्चर मधला हिरो हा बदलणारा असतो म्हणून तो राऊंड कॅरेक्टर ठरतो, आणि त्याच पिक्चर मधला एखादा विलन तो बदलतच नाही, तो तसाच अडून बसतो त्याच्या विचारांवर, तो फ्लॅट कॅरेक्टर सुद्धा ठरतो. पुढचा आहे सेटिंग. पुढचा एलिमेंट आहे सेटिंग. आणि सेटिंग म्हणजे काय, तर सेटिंग म्हणजे ज्या ठिकाणी ते सगळं घडणार आहे. म्हणजे फक्त प्लेस येते का, तर नाही. त्या प्लेस बरोबर काय काय येतं, प्लेस येतं, कोणत्या काळात ते लिहिले गेले ते येतंय, टाइम येतो, क्लायमेट, वेदर अँड लाईफस्टाईल, सगळंच येत आहे. म्हणजे ज्या काळात ती कादंबरी लिहिली गेली असेल तो काळ कसा होता, त्या काळामध्ये कोणत्या प्रकारच्या गोष्टी घडत होत्या, त्याचबरोबर त्या काळात त्या लोकांचं लाईफस्टाईल कसं होतं, ते कोणत्या प्रकारच्या घरांमध्ये राहत होते, ते कोणत्या प्रकारच्या गावात, कोणत्या ठिकाणी राहत होते, म्हणजे ठिकाण, टाइम, हे सगळ्या गोष्टी त्याच्यामध्ये ठरलेल्या असतात. पुढचा एलिमेंट आहे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, संघर्ष. कसा दाखवलाय, संघर्ष कसा दाखवलाय? माणसाचा माणसाशी स्वतःशीच दाखवलाय का एका माणसाचा दुसऱ्या माणसाबरोबर दाखवलाय? बऱ्याच वेळा आपण हिंदी मूवीज मधून ते पाहिलंय बा, एका माणसाचा संघर्ष दुसऱ्या माणसाशी असतो, समाजाविषयी काहीतरी एखादी सामाजिक जाणीव घेऊन, सामाजिक विषय घेऊन त्याच्यावर तो स्ट्रगल दाखवला जातो. म्हणजे तो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कसा आहे, तो स्ट्रगल कसा आहे, ऑपोजिट फोर्सेस कशा दाखवल्या, त्याच्यावर तो इलिमेंट ठरतो. आणि पुढचा महत्वाचा इलिमेंट म्हणजे लँग्वेज आणि स्टाईल. भाषा कशा प्रकारची वापरली गेली आहे, भाषा प्रकार कशा प्रकारे वापरला गेलाय, मग कोणत्या कोणत्या प्रकारचे डिव्हाइसेस वापरले गेलेत, भाषा शैली कोणती वापरली गेली, कोणत्या प्रकारचे शब्द वापरले गेलेत, आणि त्याच्यावरनं एक चांगलं इम्प्रेशन आता तयार होत असतं. इलिमेंट झाल्यानंतर आपण आज सगळ्यात महत्वाची गोष्ट डिस्कस केली ती म्हणजे टाइप्स ऑफ नॉव्हेल्स, कादंबरीचे सगळे प्रकार. पहिला होता तो म्हणजे रिअलिस्टिक नॉव्हेल, जो वास्तववादी चित्र दर्शवितो, जो वास्तवाचं चित्र माणसाच्या समोर घेऊन येतो. पुढचा होता पिकारेस्क्यू नॉव्हेल, म्हणजे रग जो कमी महत्वाचा कॅरेक्टर आहे पण त्याला महत्व देऊन त्याला त्याची स्टोरी त्या ठिकाणी दाखवली जाते. सामान्य माणूस असतो. बघा बऱ्याच वेळा आपण हिंदी मूवीज मधून आपल्या लक्षात आलंय, एखादा तो हिरो लो कॅरेक्टर म्हणजे अप्पर क्लास मधून न येतो, तो लोअर क्लास मधून येतो आणि हिरोईन अप्पर क्लास मधून येते, मग तो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट दाखवला जातो. येस, सो इट इज अ स्टोरी ऑफ रग अँड ही इज गिव्हन अ चान्स टू चेंज हिमसेल्फ. तो ती गोष्ट त्या ठिकाणी पाहायला मिळते. हिस्टॉरिकल नॉव्हेल माहिती आपल्याला, ऐतिहासिक कादंबरी आपण बऱ्याच वेळा त्या वाचलेल्या असतात. एपिस्टोलरी नॉव्हेल म्हणजे लेटरच्या फॉर्मॅटमध्ये, पत्राच्या स्वरूपामध्ये लिहिलेल्या गोष्टी त्या परत त्याचा सिक्वेन्स लावून त्या परत जेव्हा एका विशिष्ट सिक्वेन्समध्ये एका विशिष्ट पद्धतीनं एकत्र सगळे पत्र एकत्र करून जेव्हा दाखवलं जाईल तेव्हा ते एपिस्टोलरी नॉव्हेल ठरतं. गॉथिक नॉव्हेल मधून अर्थात सुपर नॅचरल एलिमेंट्स, काही अशा न घडणाऱ्या, न वास्तवाशी रिलेटेड नसणाऱ्या अशा गोष्टी गॉथिक नॉव्हेल मधून दाखवल्या जातात. त्याचं उदाहरण मागाशी मी तुम्हाला सांगितलंय. ऑटोबायोग्राफिकल म्हणजे यस, आत्मचरित्र ती लिहिली जातात आणि आत्मचरित्रामधून त्या तो स्वतः व्यक्ती, तो नॉव्हेलिस्ट, तो कादंबरीकार स्वतःबद्दल ते सांगत असतो. पुढचं आहे ॲलिगरिकल नॉव्हेल. ॲलिगरिकल नॉव्हेल हे दोन प्रकारे असतं. खरं तर ॲलिगरिकल नॉव्हेल दोन प्रकारे म्हणजे एक सरफेस लेवल मिनिंग, सुरुवातीचं कनोटेटिव्ह मिनिंग आणि डिनोटेटिव्ह मिनिंग, हे दोन शब्द खरं तर त्याच्यासाठी वापरले जातात. कनोटेटिव्ह मिनिंग म्हणजे सिम्बॉलिकल मिनिंग आणि डिनोटेटिव्ह मिनिंग म्हणजे डिक्शनरी मिनिंग, जे बरोबर दिसतं, जे समोर सरळ सरळ दिसतं, यस तोच त्याचा अर्थ असेल असं नाही, त्याच्यामध्ये खाली आतमध्ये वेगळा काही अर्थ असतो आणि अशा पद्धतीने सिम्बॉलिकल काही सिम्बॉल्सच्या माध्यमातून त्याची मिनिंग आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतात. युटोपियन नॉव्हेल म्हणजे खूप आदर्शवादी अशी रचना त्यामधून दाखवली जाते. सायकोलॉजिकल नॉव्हेल म्हणजे मानसिक चित्र, स्ट्रीम ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस आणि सायकोलॉजिकल नॉव्हेल दोन्ही एक प्रकार समजूया. मानसिक गोष्टींचं वर्णन, चित्रीकरण या ठिकाणी दाखवलं जातं. बिल्डिंग्स रोमन नॉव्हेल मध्ये ग्रोथ म्हणजे डेव्हलपमेंट म्हणजेच बदल कसा होतो माणसाच्या आयुष्यात, खूप खालून ते वरपर्यंत, म्हणजे वाईटापासून चांगल्यापर्यंत एक असा बदल कसा होतो ज्याच्यामध्ये डेव्हलपमेंट आहे, ज्याच्यामध्ये विकास आहे, ते या प्रकारात दाखवलं जातं. पुढचं सायन्स फिक्शन, ज्याच्यामध्ये विज्ञानाच्या संदर्भातल्या सगळ्या गोष्टी वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारे नॉव्हेल म्हणजे फिक्शन फॉर्म मध्ये दाखवल्या जातात. आणि पुढचा आहे तो म्हणजे डिटेक्टिव्ह फिक्शन. आणि डिटेक्टिव्ह फिक्शन मधून आपल्याला माहिती आहे वेगवेगळे डिटेक्टिव्ह आपल्याला माहिती आहेत, त्या डिटेक्टिव्ह फिक्शन मधून आपल्याला वेगवेगळ्या क्युरिओसिटी असणाऱ्या अशा स्टोरीज दाखवल्या जातात. या पद्धतीनं हिस्ट्री ऑफ नॉव्हेल हा आपल्या सिलेबसमध्ये असलेला हा टॉपिक आज या ठिकाणी आपण संपवतो आहोत. ऑफकोर्स friends, you might have liked it, you might have understood what we have discussed in last 3 lectures. I have tried to of course cover up all the things given in the textbook, so do not forget to read the textbook. Please read the textbook, take out your notes, listen to this lecture and just try to understand it in detail. Try to make your own notes, try to make your short notes, and these things will help you in writing the answers in the question paper. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for even tolerating me for last 3 days. Thank you again.